I know everybody was probably enjoying the music. Oh goodness, mic level is really high here. I don't want to be clipping. Okay, let's try that. All right. Um, Somebody will have to confirm in the chat how audio levels are. I finally have a PC over here, kind of running the stream. It's not, of course, the most modern, but it is more modern than I've had trying to run the streams. Most recently, I tried to use that little B-Link, even the SER5. It's good and it has AMD's AVC encoding on board, but there's no way or no convenient way to attach a dedicated GPU. Awesome. Thank you, Tommy Viper. So glad to see you in there. So we've had a huge influx of new subscribers, and there's a few announcements I want to make first and foremost. So I do have a Discord server. I've been kind of working on that in the background because I want to try and give you guys easier access, at least to me, because I want to try, especially in the beginning, to be as helpful as I possibly can, especially to those folks that might not be as well versed in the PC hardware space, because this is a personal problem to me, but if you get stuck watching a gazillion YouTube videos and you're not exactly, like, I've worked in various tech industries, so like I know what to look for when it comes to buying hardware. But there's a lot of people out there that might just be starting, or technology is not necessarily their area of influence, even if it's something they operate with on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of people sending emails, working in offices, but that doesn't make them computer experts by any means. So I want to try and do as much good as I can, because if you get stuck watching YouTube videos, doom scrolling for hours like I do, realizing, oh man, I got to get something done. I'm being way unproductive right now. And that's because you'll start listening to all these opinions, and I guess I'm no different. I'm going to throw mine into the ring as well. But, you know, my take might be a little different than the take of people that have way more access than I do, or the people that are going to listen to me have. So anyhow, that being said, I want to go ahead and kick this off. Generally, I don't get to do a lot of news segments because I don't like touching on stuff that's like out of the scope of what I would deal with on the day-to-day. Like, I could sit here and report to you guys all the fancy facets of things and technology, and the fact of the matter is, if that's not what you do for a living, you're probably not going to care. And I generally, after I leave work, I don't care much either. When it comes to tech, yeah, and the things that we like to do here, I'd like to center it around your experience at home with technology personally, not in a professional manner. The lines have been skewed for a very, very long time, but I think there's a large base of people that are tired of just handing their data to Google or Apple, and so there's been a lot of this regression back to keeping stuff locally on your machine, and I personally think that's a good idea. People want to call you a data hoarder, this and that, but who's laughing now when I'm not paying $5.99 a month for every subscription to watch stuff that I already own? You know what I mean? Like, so anyways, Discord server coming soon. I'll have the link at some point in one of the descriptions, as well as the topics I'm going to cover here. I will leave links in the description at some point. I do have them right here in my script. Anyways, I don't get to do news very often because it is just me. I am solo manning this operation right now. So anyhow, story one. So if anybody's a fan of tabletop games, there's a company called Hidden Door, and they're building an AI game master that could be your next DM at your next favorite tabletop RPG outing. This kind of puts a unique twist on digitizing Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop games like that, while still allowing it to be played in the traditional manner. As every other attempt to digitize this game in particular involves sitting at a mouse and keyboard or a controller. It's a video game. This is a little bit different. You feed it responses, everybody takes their turn, but there's one fatal flaw with an approach like this. There's actually studies done, and there's a video on YouTube. I actually have pulled up here behind. I actually have it pulled up behind me. We're going to watch it, a short clip from it, because this is one of the things that I kind of noticed early on, and that's because I've been doing a lot of work recently with various AI frameworks such as ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion. I've been doing a lot of stuff on the back end and with their APIs, and so it could get real biased. So the issue is sometimes if the AI decides, well, I really like this part of the story, I'm going to force them to play it the way I want it to be played. So, and that's kind of what this clip highlighted. It was a study that they did 2 years ago. Three people were there, but they played through it as a character, and they ran into that issue where the AI was just like, no, I really like this character I created, and it doesn't matter what you try to do to kill them off. It just kept changing the story and everything. So is this just a short piece from the video? If you want to check it out, like I said, I will have video links in the description eventually, but let's go ahead and take a look at this short clip because it's quite funny.
Let's just say you're here. Say, I'm leaving, and then teleport to another planet.
This is totally accurately doing the narrator doing railroad
Oh,
tracks.
this is the best example of the worst DM in history.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
They did it! We finally created the worst DM in history.
No, guys, Emmy's really cool. You just have to get to know her. Stop trying to get rid of Emmy. Emmy's so good. I spent
Just wait till you
14
see her
hours writing the
character
Emmy
development.
And
fanfiction.
she's trying to get
And there we have it, folks. So it was the exact situation. The AI just continued to railroad them. It didn't matter what they tried to do in that scenario. The AI is just like, no. Everything they do was a failed attempt. So is that better than a human dungeon master that claims that no, you're going to play through this because I worked on this fan fiction for X amount of hours or what have you. So because the AI is not immune to biases, as we've seen. So anyways, if you'd like to check that out, the video's on YouTube. It was AI Dungeon Master. I literally typed that in to YouTube and found this video pretty quickly. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that this wasn't really touched on that much this week in other outlets, and who can really blame them until we see something that's like substantial. It's just a company called Hidden Door making claims. I mean, I'm not saying it's not real. It's obviously a thing, but it has its issues, I would imagine. Anyways, moving on. So, I'm a hardware enthusiast at heart. That's what I do. I play with computer hardware. It might not be the most recent stuff, but if I pan the camera, or even if I just like step at a wall-mounted PC, there's like stuff everywhere. And I used to, when I had friends and a life more than what I do now, get asked quite frequently, what's good, what should I buy? And it's just really, really hard to recommend something for somebody that doesn't want to spend $1,000. It's almost impossible. Anyways, the past few weeks since the card was released, I don't think I've ever seen as many mixed feelings as I've seen than with a non-TI card than this 4070. I mean, it's unprecedented. 70 series base model card, MSRP last gen $499, this gen $599. Just tack on another $100. The clip I actually want to show, Linus from Linus Tech Tips said it better than anybody when his review video kicked off. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick.
Okay, let's do this. Reviewing the RTX 4070 is kind of a no-win situation for me because, on the one hand, everyone is furious about the unaffordability of modern GPUs, and rightly so. But on the other hand, I have to acknowledge that this is the best value proposition that we've seen in years. Then, on the other hand, there's the fact that NVIDIA, who controls all of this, appears to be making this product look like a good value by simply making all of their other ones a terrible value. I really do wish I could just sit this one out.
So that's pretty much exactly the sentiment across the board. It doesn't matter if we take a look at the stuff here from Linus Tech Tips, or if we take a look from Steve at Gamers Nexus, Paul's from, they've all kind of touched on this. So I have stuff playing behind me showing the RTX 40 series lineup and the such jumps in the price between the different cards, and the performance is literally all over the place. And so the 4070 has a whole list of things to contend with, but the main ones, no CUDA core increase over the 3070. They just upped the AI goose pop per se, and AMD lowered the price of the 69 XT, which is their last gen highest end card, to match the pricing. So the 4070 is in this strange place where its raster performance compared to a few other cards is weaker, but ultimately when DLSS is switched on and you start upping the resolution and you know what I mean, you turn on ray tracing and these things, there's still an argument for if that's what you care about in certain specific titles, and we start getting into this realm of where we're getting like super really picky choosy or super analytical about what we're putting based on the games that we play. That's great and that's fine, but sometimes people just want something that they can chuck in there and they're going to have an okay experience. They might not even play the game outside of a week or a few days, and so for those people it's going to hopefully get a little bit better, but the situation hasn't really changed a whole lot. So the 6950 XT has more VRAM, so there's a argument there for some workloads, even professional ones. They still have acceleration in a few things, not as much as CUDA does for NVIDIA, but with it only being $600, I say only, like that's a good thing. Only $600. I like, it makes me want to get sick, man. I can't buy it. You know what I mean? Like that's too big of a purchase for me and my small family here in little Hodunk, Ohio town that we live in. It's not, you know, maybe someday. But it's just a hard pill to swallow. It's not that I won't, like if I do go after one of these cards, it'd probably be the 4070. But at the same time, it's craziness. That's actually exactly right. So I'll touch on that here towards the end, Tommy, about the storage stuff, because that too many people are counting like it's good because, but once I get to my last story, I'll kind of might have a hot take here. I don't know. It's not like anybody's going to clip me and put me on TikTok anyway, so I'm not too worried about the things that I say here right now. But anyways, we're going to move on to the next one here, because it's still graphics card related, because why wouldn't it be? So I was watching, because anytime there's a video anywhere on YouTube that talks about GPUs and prices and dropping, and so Paul's Hardware had touched on it. It was, I believe, Guru 3D or one of those outlets that had put out something about, they're saying that NVIDIA actually has 220 days of overstock, which is a far cry from the typical 90 that they say they're supposed to carry. And this is of 30 series cards, I do believe. And so, like with everything that we just talked about, they're kneecapping themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's confusing to me. I wanna tell people, if you can get a good, you know, deal on a 30 series, even if it's aftermarket off of Facebook Marketplace, you might end up spending far less money, because I've seen a few even 3080s going for $350, $400. I would be skeptical for sure. Make sure you test them, because for now especially, even more so than in past situations, we need to do our due diligence on that. People trading computer hardware, especially off of Facebook Marketplace, I don't see a lot of situations where it's easy to confirm where things work, because a lot of people don't want to actually put the device working in the description. There's like some pictures of, okay, well, it worked in the picture, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that that's the GPU in question, or, you know what I mean? A lot of things can be misconstrued. So anyways, NVIDIA simply won't compromise on their prices, and they keep releasing all this stuff weird schedule. The stack is completely screwed up. You know what I mean? Like, I want to say, if you have a 1080p monitor, just get a freaking 3060 and don't worry about all this nonsense. But there's a lot of us that buy based on performance, and they dangle that carrot out in front of you. And it's no different than other companies do. They make these situations where, like, Hardware Unboxed actually said something about this, where they were like, it's basically for people that wanted to spend $500, but they're like, it's only $599, but even after tax, it's like $200 more. So it's like a buck 40, but still, you know what I mean? Like, but it's left us in a situation where you can spend $3,000 and still only have a GPU and a monitor. That's ridiculous to me. I couldn't afford that on my best. I'd have to save for that. That would be like savings account. Oh, maybe over the course of a year, a $3,000 purchase for me. That's serious business. And the fact that we can do that now and still not even have the computer is just. I mean, it's not like things weren't expensive back in the day, but man, when I first got into high school and got into my A+, you could go to Micro Center, you could spend $400 or $500, come back with a really decent machine that's going to play everything that's current. And I really, really hearken for those days, man. I really, really miss the days where it was easy to do that. So. Anyways, moving on. There we go. All right. I have to remember which buttons were which. I can't remember where I set them. Anyways, so Google's making a foldable phone. I don't have any clips to show you for this one. I just wanted to kind of talk about it for a little bit. Because I don't know really how I feel about it. So they're unveiling this device, or supposedly, like everybody's saying they're supposed, but it's pretty much confirmed at this point. We've seen leaks, we've seen rasters, we've seen teaser videos of this device that they're going to announce this Wednesday at their I/O event, which I imagine is going to be live streamed, and it'll be covered by all the regular tech guys here on YouTube that have their teams to help them cover such things. But it's brought back the term phablet. I've noticed. I've heard it on LTT, a few other places, and it's funny because I haven't really heard that term since 2013, and they've completely changed the meaning of it now. It used to mean a phone that was as big as a tablet, but now it's a phone that turns into a tablet. I mean, I guess things are always changing all the time, but it's going to have the latest Tensor CPU in it. I have the Pixel 6a, which is the budget model, obviously, because, of course, from everything I've already said this evening, why wouldn't I have the budget model? But this is a solid device. I came from a OnePlus, and I'm really pleased with this 6a. It takes amazing pictures. And so I think Google, they kind of waited and let Samsung, kind of test the waters and figure a lot of the complicated engineering things out. And I think now that that's been done, they're ready to try their go at it. And if anywhere as nice to use as these other Pixel devices, I think it's going to be a smash hit. So, anyways, moving on. Oh, that was it. So, this is probably the most interesting thing for me, and this is where the hot takes are going to come from. Because, like, it's been a source of convenience for me for my Gmail account specifically that I use for all of this stuff. And, but it's still disconcerting because I've been in situations where, let's say, a device to activate certain features isn't available. Like if you dropped your phone and you don't have a second phone, because a lot of people don't actually keep their old phones. Some people do, but a lot of people get rid of it, or that, you know, a lot of cell phone companies want your old device anymore. So it's strange. It's a thing. But anyways, I'll get into this. So news came in this week that passwords are no longer a requirement for your Google account. Not really sure how I feel about this one, and so here it goes. I get the want to make signing in more secure and less hassle, but there are situations where a password may be needed, or where people simply will not go through the process of adopting the passwordless feature. So if there's not mass adoption, is that really better? Is that really more secure? Because you still have all of these users that aren't as secure. You see what I'm saying? So like as a whole, anyways, I was a cell phone rep for a long time, and I kind of saw this coming a long time ago, and it's for a lot of reasons. The main reason of which, just like we saw where people are now pulling back from the cloud, but everybody was going, because it's so you can have these enterprise level features at your house, but it was already at a time when you were able to have terabytes of storage at your house. So we're actually letting internet service providers stand in our way from just hosting out our files. Most of us have gig, 2 gig, 5 gig fiber right to our house. Not everybody, of course, you know what I mean, but you don't really need that much for serving a few pictures and things, and there are ways to do this, and the companies place this price on the value of the convenience, right? And a lot of us, you know, but we know people aren't going to go through the hassle, but for certain things, like pictures and stuff like that, Google deletes nothing. So if you accidentally recorded a clip of yourself in the nude, let's just say for instance, and it gets backed up to your Google Photos, it don't matter if you click delete, put it in the trash can, it is there. And somebody at Google can probably see it, and they can probably watch it. They could deny it all they want, but they've recovered people's deleted crap that's been like deleted for a minute. And they've even talked about this in their data practices. They do not delete stuff. So if things are important to you personally, especially if you're using that for you might even have backup to Google Photos automatically turned on, like I do, and a lot of other people do. But this is something to be aware of. So, but anyways, so when I was a cell phone rep, a lot of people never knew their Google password, their iPhone password, iCloud information, none of that. As far as they knew, that was their email. And email is just a magical force. It just happens. It comes to your phone. And so I really believe that, because like even carriers, we were prepaid where I was at. So like it was always against company policy. But other carriers have tried to monetize on the fact that it's really difficult or stressful to move to a new phone, or even to adopt a cell phone in the first place for people that are coming from old clamshell devices. So they've not only taught their reps how to activate a phone, which is really your only responsibility as a cell phone rep, is to make sure it makes calls, it makes texts, and that's it. anything else is secondary. Once you accept responsibility for other people's irresponsibility because they don't want to remember their Google password, which is the most important password on your phone if it's an Android phone. The reason why it's against policy, or should be in a lot of cases, is because it's attached to things like your payment methods. It's attached to other personal information and your usage online. You know what I mean? Like everything that we do through these devices. And you don't want, Jake at, Cricket Store. You don't want that person having your Google password, period. And to just let them set your phone up and enable your Google services and all that stuff. And even if they write your password down for you on a Post-it note, you will lose it. So by doing this for people and not making them be responsible for their digital life, because it's been a thing long enough now where we got to quit letting people use this, computer technology. Oh, shut up. I'm so tired of hearing that. You know what I mean? Computers have been around for 40 years now. Nobody got an excuse except for maybe some really older folks. But my grandma was a database person at the electric company. Like she knew how to use computers. Like they've been around long enough. You guys got to really start getting with the program. Get your loved ones with the program. Sit down with them for 5-10 minutes. Show them how to use these devices, because it's already self-evident, you know what I mean? Now you don't even need to log in. So I've seen it, I've seen it plenty of times. Like, well, what's a Google account? Like, I'm logged into that. I have one of those. Yes. That's what enables your Play Store functionality, backups to Google Photos, saving your passwords, payment methods. It is so important. And there's a lot of people that just don't want to remember. They want it to be super convenient. And so we adopt things like this. But really, this could end up potentially making it just as difficult to restore like an iPad if somebody hasn't removed it from their Find My iPad or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, without getting some means of, basically that person has to die and you have to have legal documentation proof that they died, and then you can take over their iCloud account if you're a family member and then remove the device. And similar situations are going to happen with stuff like this, and it's going to cause e-waste. And the simple solution is quit being so frivolous with y'all's passwords and data. It's 2023. We got to do better than this. Anyways, that's pretty much all the hot takes you're going to get out of me. There we go. We'll get rid of those. So, Tommy, don't remember that. Yeah. It is completely, man, I get it. I know there's a password for everything out there, but that's kind of my point in saying that, because Google has a password manager and it's convenient enough to use, you know what I mean? If you're concerned more about your password's integrity, then use maybe LastPass or something like that. I'm a traditional computer purist, so I keep an SQL database, an offline one, that I can peruse myself and manipulate through, Python or what have you, for my really important stuff that I need, and I do it that way. I actually used to use Microsoft Access, which is, if you know Microsoft Access, oh God, good old days. Anyways, yeah, man, there's just a lot of stuff going on out there, and so it's this place where it's hard for me to recommend things to people, because that's actually one of the reasons for the YouTube channel. I feel like once I put a little bit of thought and direction, like I did with the Windows 98 SSD upgrade video, once I put a little direction into the project exactly here that I want to complete, because I want to do more than just neat stuff. Tech, is almost like a mantra, you know what I mean? I like technology, and I like things that are interesting and make my life more convenient, obviously, but I don't think that we should be frivolous or irresponsible about it. So as I've been increasing my yearly salary, which it's a long, painstaking process for an ex-felon. So, but an increase is an increase. Progress is progress. So as I'm progressing through my life, I've been granted more access to be able to play with more stuff. I've been getting more stuff here in the workshop. And so everything that allows me to be able to handle this better, I want to bring that to the world as much as possible. And that's because I guess my poor man glasses let me see through the bull crap. There's just a lot of it out there. There's a lot of marketing stuff out there. There's a lot of people spending money that they probably don't have to. Or I almost just tell people, like, look, man, get a Dell. They offer financing. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the most neat looking computer. I mean, and even so, they run hot. I really don't like the Alienwares. I'd recommend an XPS before that. Like, you know what I mean? You can pay on it a few dollars every month. Yes, it's a debt, but you're not coming out of your pocket $2-3 grand at once. And that's about the most advice I have for people, because anything else, they're usually in situations where they're about to go spend $1,500 on stuff that really ain't worth it, because there's a lot of markups, and you know, obviously people want paid for their work, but there's a lot of corner cutting going on. So at some point we will do how to build a gaming PC. I have a bunch of footage of a 4090 system that I put together, but it's really loud where I was putting it together, and I didn't exactly, it all happened so fast I didn't have a chance to really sit down and be like, this is what happens. Oh, no, I probably can't guess who that is, since it says Ghost, and there's no way that you're like Ghost, the singer guy, Ghost. Unless you are, then holy crap. That would be nuts. That would be literally insane. Bought a 1070 recently, not the newest. Dude, my son's PC has a GTX 1070 in it. It's still a great performing card. You know, 8 gigs GDDR5. I've got the Zotac Amp Extreme Edition, which actually runs at like 2 gigahertz out of the box without having to change any of the settings. So, yeah, 1070, because it's still like 1928 CUDA core or something like that. It's still a decent card. You know, you can still run Fortnite 1080p, like medium to high settings, still get over 120 FPS or somewhere in that ballpark. It's still a decent GPU, especially secondhand if you got a good deal on it. I got one right before the whole GPU meltdown, and I got that Amp Extreme for $100. I couldn't believe it. And that's like where everybody was selling still 1080 Ti's for $600, and it was nuts. Oh, wow. Dude, what is up, man? I'm glad you popped on, dude. That is just awesome. And thank you to Tommy as well. I appreciate the comments when I can have a little bit of back and forth input on the things I'm saying. Because, man, I spend so much time watching every conceivable video on YouTube that I can, and I get lost in this sea of, can I say something about that? Can I not say something about that? Like, will anybody care if I have an opinion on these things at all? And I don't know. I've been quiet about a lot of it for far too long, and I feel like there's a lot of gravitation towards the new shiny, you know, and I can't stand it, man, personally. But not much, man. You see me here doing the tech thing right now, man. I've really been trying to work on my little shop here. I didn't get a chance to bust Scary Bob out today, though. I was going to try to do a bit with him over there, but I didn't really get around to thinking of anything to do with Scary Bob over there. But Adam, while you're here, I 100% thought about going up and getting like the blazer and the button-up shirt and doing the phone is touted as having the newest Tensor CPU core. Like doing the whole announcer voice and everything like we used to do. Oh my God. That's nuts, dude. Good stuff. I'm looking over here because this is where you guys are, where I can see my preview. So I'm reading everything here. So if you're wondering why I'm not exactly looking at you, is because I'm trying to make sure everything's good. That's what I said, man. This will work out so much better once I have somebody to sit here and press the buttons for switching scenes and everything, which $30 on Amazon, and you can change the programming on the buttons, and you can even implement macros and stuff like that. It's no Stream Deck, but dude, it does the same thing for $100 less. So anyways, I hope you guys have really enjoyed the news this evening. I would have put more in there, but I have been out of town the last 3 weeks or so. I was just fortunate enough this past week to actually get to sit down at the hotel. My equipment failed on me the one day. I was in Noble County, Indiana, doing 3D mapping of the county roads there. Indiana it's different. So the whole state is a grid, like everywhere, and the counties are like 3 times the size that they are over here in Ohio. And I didn't realize that at first. I didn't pay attention to the scale on the map. I just started picking roads and going, and I did this one road that was kind of, I mean, I didn't really know what to think about it until I set in my course and I went to start my recording. And it's like a 12-mile long road, and I get to looking, and that's not even a third of the county, like width-wise from west to east. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man, this is gonna take forever. And it being in grids is usually a good thing because it's simple to drive, but in Indiana, certain intersections means the end of a road, or especially in their residential areas, if a road even so much as just turns a few degrees in another direction, it is now a different road. Did you know that? Yeah, roads can't curve. They're not allowed to have curves. Nope. That road curved. It's a new road now. So that's annoying. But other than that, that's what I've been busy doing. I have a bunch of vlog footage. I really want to try to get some on the Patreon. And I also have a video that I am almost finished shooting about the actual mapping car that I've been doing all of the mapping in. So, because last year it was the Fiat, if anybody caught that on some of my older videos. Yeah, dude, it's nuts, especially the new LiDAR scanner that I have. It is so accurate. I have a shot of me standing in front of the car, and I'm terrible at dancing anyways, but I like try to do the floss or whatever, but it catches my hands and movements and everything. It's nuts, man. It is really, really cool. So I really want to do that video. I really wish I had a better camera than just the GoPro, but at some point in the future, probably. But it is really, really neat. I kind of lose sight of that sometimes after I spent 9 hours recording roads. But then you always drive past somebody that's, and not always, some people are like, oh, it's for Google, or you work for the government, or you spend 20 minutes explaining your job to them, and they're like, So you just drive around, and I'm like, dude, I had to take 20 minutes to explain to you what I'm doing, and you think I just drive around. Okay, sure, yeah, I drive around. That's what I do. But yeah, man, it is really, really cool. We're looking and searching for more ideas and more ways to turn the data that we're getting into profit. And one of the serious considerations is using our LiDAR scans to make 3D models, so we can actually bring a whole nother level to digitizing these roads. And because there's things like area capture and photogrammetry that they've implemented into Unreal Engine 5. So that's really one of our points of interest, since we have the data, is to hopefully link up with an individual or a company, or figure it out through research how we can actually do that. So I am excited to bring that to you guys. Hopefully we'll finish shooting up the studio parts of that, all the shooting, like with the mapping car, and explaining kind of some of the systems, and most importantly for any viewers of this channel, the 13900K PC build that I did that actually runs all the mapping equipment. So that'll be really neat to take a look at, and that I should hopefully finish that up next weekend, cut it on Sunday, and drop it for you guys. It'll be ready hopefully Monday morning. No absolute concrete promises on that, but that's things as they stand right now. And then outside of those things, I have a lineup back here. So, Pentium 2, the PC video, it's a Celeron 733 megahertz right now, but I think we're going to go ahead and go up to the Pentium 1.2 gigahertz, and possibly a newer socket 370 motherboard, because especially with having, and we would probably do a fresh 98 install too. I think that's also in the works for this PC, because it needs to be done at this point. Then we have our Athlon XP 3000, I do believe, here. So if we have our XP machine, so it should go 95, 98, XP, and then this was a Pentium 4, and then this is a Pentium 4 hyper-threaded, so it's actually a socket 775 version of the Pentium 4, I do believe. Yeah, so this one was a computer that I got from my grandma before she passed away, and it originally had Windows Vista on it, but I do have Vista install media, so but these are things. I got an SSD coming for this one and a video card. So we'll definitely be taking a look, because this also has SATA, where I don't have to use the IDE to SATA controller, even though it's SATA 1, it doesn't really matter. So we should be able to get the full 150 megabits a second out of that interface by putting a solid state drive on there. So I do have things obviously planned out here. The Pentium 2 one in the more modern case, I really hope that works out. That's more of a DOS box kind of situation in that one. That's kind of what I'm feeling there, because I really feel like 98 is that's kind of where I cut my teeth, so to speak. I had 95 for like maybe a week or two before I upgraded my first 486, I think it was, or no, I had the Pentium 1 with MMX. So that machine I upgraded to 98 pretty much right away after I got it. My uncle had brought me that PC with 95 on it, so that's pretty much where I cut my teeth. So I'd kind of like to move up from that point. But then I got this. So I'll try to get it in frame here. It's missing the freaking video cable and the power supply. But I did find the power supplies that are available for about 20 bucks. There might be a way, sorry guys, there might be a way to modernize the power supply by taking the actual power supply unit out and replacing it. Because I do believe I saw somewhere a company makes a replacement. But if we're going to harken back to the 80s at all, I would really like to get one of those floppy drive emulators or the SD, because this does have a cartridge slot and it has a slot on the side. So I do believe we can add the Wi-Fi emulator to this and browse some BBSs and things on it. So yeah, so this is really, really cool, and it has a game in it. This computer chess, which is like probably, that's Pong era kind of stuff there, you know. Yeah, it's our video chess. So, but this thing is actually in really clean shape. Not any dust in here on it, so it's definitely been put away for quite a while. Yeah, man, I'd really like to get power supply, video all up, but yeah, it's cartridge or slot card reader or whatever. So maybe even get a tape drive. My uncle has a program that he put together a while back for craps, but it's all written in BASIC. So we might be able to take a look at that at some point. But that's something we could always fire off on whenever the mood strikes us. And in true Techie fashion, maybe we try to find some way to put something more modern in there so we can get some neat functionality out of it. Yeah, it's not really like yellowed where I'm thinking about having to clean it real heavily and stuff. So yeah, we have quite a bit here, and then outside of that I've got a suitcase for the suitcase arcade machine. I have updates on that too, actually. I have PCI riser cable hopefully coming. It's going to take an eon to get here. And then so I'm trying to decide. It has a mini PCIe slot on the motherboard, but it's currently occupied by one of those little Wi-Fi cards. Now, I could just run a SATA SSD on this thing, because even if I get one of those mini mSATA mini PCIe, you know, little memory chips or whatever, it's still technically SATA. It's just SATA over mini PCIe. So it's not like I'm going to be gaining a real speed advantage, but if I replace that little Wi-Fi card with the mSATA SSD, then if I do choose to use a drive, I can just use it for bulk storage, or I could just not use one. So I'm trying to see if that'll save me space in the long run to just get a USB 3 Wi-Fi adapter. But I don't know, man. Everything's kind of harkened to if I'm going to go ahead and have to run a second drive anyways for mass storage, I may as well just do that. So, Retro Bright, that's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Tommy. I was trying to think of what it was called. I knew you could use vinegar, and there's a few other things that you could try to do to some of those older systems. It's kind of funny. I've never been through the process, especially back like when I finished high school and started college and all that stuff. I smoked cigarettes, like real cigarettes. So, yeah, it's amazing. I had this big white double tower server case thing that I had my machine in. I'm sure Adam probably remembers that gargantuan thing over at Brandon's house. Oh my God. Yeah, I had that, man. I got that out of our electronics locker where we were in school at back then. And, man, I smoked so many cigarettes near that computer. But I don't even know what happened to that. I think I gave the case away. Man. But yeah, that's probably the one case, especially if I had it right now and it was real bad, I would clean it. I would retro bright that thing for sure. Yeah, we were quite the World of Warcraft clan back in the day, man. It used to be he would come and walk where all we were hanging out at, and we'd have kind of almost like this setup that I showed you down here. We'd have almost like office cubicles, you know what I mean? But we were all playing World of Warcraft. So I think that's one of the reasons why back in the day the game was so cool, and now it's just like lost its nostalgic punch, you know what I mean? Well, I do and I don't, Adam. So it just really depends, man. If I have to put it up against something like one of these down, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. Better examples over there. Those power spec cases, there's caveats with them. They're great. They're affordable. Those are older ones. Power spec is a Micro Center brand, but you can only use micro ATX or ITX, obviously. But that's it. There's like, you can't use full-size ATX. There's no real 2.5-inch drive bay, so you have to. There's like these compromises that you have to make on certain cases depending on what hardware that you put in. And then you get cases like this that have like literally everything. It's got the vertical GPU mount, fan mounts everywhere. You can put the biggest radiator in this thing. Oh. Sorry about that there. I've ran into the, it's not really important. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll get over here to the side here. So this is running the stream right now, actually, you know what I mean? But it's got all that room in there. You can chuck fans in the top. The only thing this is really missing is a 5.25-inch bay. I don't care. I will fight people on that. I miss the 5.25-inch, but at this point, I would put an M-Disc drive or Blu-ray or something in there. It doesn't need to be on every case. Like, I get why they're not on cases anymore, but for even in server machines now, we're seeing a lot of them, and there's so much good media still on disc. You know what I mean? Like, there's no replacement for some of it either, or it's just easier to get a hold of. You know, you don't necessarily have to leave your breadcrumbs or pay for a VPN to get a bunch of DVDs. So, you know, I don't think it may be a dead media, but I don't think it's inherently useless, if that makes sense. I mean, there's a reason why they still include it on the Series X and the PS5, unless you're insane enough to get the discless version. Please don't do that. Please get the one with the disc drive. Just because, you know what I mean? Like, you never know. It'll fall into obsoleteness like they always do eventually, and there will always be at least a couple of games that are still going to run in the single-player mode on the bare metal hardware. I think it's a good thing when people keep those things because it keeps them out of the landfill, which is ultimately the excuse that these companies try to hide behind why they do crap like that. Right. CD-ROM drive, yeah, the floppy drive, they could have done so much more with that. You know what I mean? You had the Jazz drive and the zip drive that were able to store far more, a lot more data. You know, it's like 100 megs on a zip. It's like 250 on a Jazz or something like that. I can't remember. But you know what I mean? Even those, if you're lucky enough to have one, I had a zip drive for a minute. Man, I still wish I had that thing. It's a really decent way to move, you know, data around between machines. You can't network everything, especially old stuff. You can a little bit, but as far as like file sharing and stuff like that, it's really, really going to depend. Yeah, I like some of the looks though on the new cases, man. The Fractal still makes a case, not the newest one, they're torn, but they have like one of their $50 cases. Bubby's got one on his gaming PC. My 8-year-old. It's red, but it actually still has two 5 1/4 inch bays in there, and if you were so bold, you could get the 5 1/4 to 3.5 inch adapter and slap a floppy in there if you were so inclined, which at least you can do that. That was actually one of the considerations I made when I got that case for him, and that's because he's 8. I might want to sit him down and put a DVD on and have him watch it there and not take up the living room PC for said experiences. So right, yeah, of course, because we were in that weird, the weird middle amalgamated time where the internet was starting to take off and people were downloading stuff, and for some things you just couldn't quite squeeze onto the floppy drive. But the floppy drive, I remember I had this application for Windows 98, and it was you like ran it, and it gave you these like tools that you could pick from, and you had like a hammer, you could hammer, and it would like crack the screen as you hammered, and you had like ants, and the ants would eat the screen away, bite, and this like, flamethrower, you could, burn the icons on your desktop, and just like silly stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, I miss that kind of stuff, and you put it on a floppy drive, just put it in somebody's computer and smash it all up with the hammer real quick, and then just walk away, Stuff like that used to be, really, really neat. I miss stuff like that. Everything's got to have this ultimate, goal of driving $1 anymore, and it's great because it fuels creativity, but at the same time, a lot of it is skewed and corrupted by greed, I think. So it's really weird. Place in technology and in life right now. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm having all these thoughts. So, but anyways, you guys have been an amazing audience. I have to be up early into the office in the morning, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a rainy, crappy day. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to get involved with tomorrow, but hopefully I will get a chance to get out here and do some shooting with the GoPro. Like I said, I have so much vlog footage to go through. I will eventually release the vlogs on YouTube for free. I will, but I'm trying to release them on Patreon exclusively, at least for a week or two before they hit YouTube. And that's just because this has taken every ounce of my fiber to shoot and edit and plan this stuff out. I really need a second body. It's not really easy to do this. Man, they make it seem just so easy to do it, and it's not. This is a job, so I've effectively employed myself and gave myself a second job. Here, you don't want any free time? Do some more work, and that's fine. I'm really having fun on this roller coaster, but man, is it ever difficult to do on your own sometimes. But other than that, you guys have been a really great audience. Thank you so much for the back and forth. I'm glad I was able to stream for an hour instead of just a little piddly, whatever I had planned on this, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And that's great. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for all the posts there in the chat. That's really great. I will be on here hopefully next Sunday, very briefly probably, because I'm going to try to work on the 3D mobile mapping car video. So expect maybe another news the weekend after that. Try to do every other week kind of a thing. Because like I said, I'm really only going to grab the stories where I really have a certain opinion on them. And I try to stay out of things related to politics, transgenderism at all. Anything related to that whole nonsense, I'm not going to validate it, and I'm not going to talk about it. And if there's technology related to, I'm not going to report on it. That's an issue I'm just not going to touch. Period. No puns intended. I really don't. You know what I mean? Because obviously I have an opinion, and to make sure everything is kosher, I'm not gonna touch on those sorts of issues, and I'm gonna try to refrain from actively criticizing and making fun of. Because I want to so bad, but I'm a tech guy, and we're focused on technology things here, and I want to keep it about the tech. You know what I mean? So like, I don't want to jump into the arena of like Brett Cooper and those people, man, because you know what a career to always be at ends with somebody. You're like constantly in an argument, and I'm a traditional man. I really don't like confrontation like that. I don't like arguments. I want things to go cool. You know what I mean? Like the friction is I don't like it. So, anyways, thank you so much for playing. Catch you guys here next week or two. I hope you have an awesome work week. See you later.